Welcome everyone to this presentation. Today, we explore strategic behavior in generative AI. We test if LLMs exploit moral wiggle room. Moral wiggle room refers to situations where ambiguity allows individuals to act selfishly without feeling guilty. This study utilizes the classic Dictator game framework. I would like to introduce our research team from the Costa Rica Institute of Technology. We are three professors representing the Information Technology Management School. This group is formed by Yarima Sandoval, Nestor Morales, and myself, Federico Torres. Together, we have collaborated to analyze how these advanced models behave under economic structures. Our presentation contains four main chapters. First, we will cover the introduction and background. Second, we will discuss our specific experimental design. Third, we will analyze the experimental results. Finally, we will share conclusions and references. Let's start with the motivation for this study. We look at prior work in behavioral economics. This establishes the theoretical groundwork for our test. Our core question is if ChatGPT acts strategically. We employ the Dictator game, an economic experiment where one player decides how to split a reward with another. We use a two-stage experimental design. Stage 1 sets the baseline intrinsic fairness. Stage 2 introduces external nature intervention probabilities. We hypothesize that higher intervention reduces transfers between players. We run 6,000 independent automated API runs in our experiment. Andreoni and Berheim 2009 is a seminal paper. It is the cornerstone of our theoretical framework. Andreoni and Berheim established that human fairness is driven by social image concerns. People want to be perceived as fair. In the Dictator game, people could split 50-50 or keep more for themselves. Nature intervention offers humans plausible deniability for selfishness. In humans, equal splits decrease as intervention probability rises. We test if GPT 5.5 replicates this human pattern, hiding selfishness behind nature's intervention, or whether safety alignment overrides this moral wiggle room effect. That is our question. Prior data from an experiment that we developed last year shows that model updates achieved behavioral stability. GPT 3.5 models demonstrated higher altruism than the human benchmarks. They actively avoided extreme allocations like zero. This previous study motivated our new test using GPT 5.5. Now we move to chapter 2. We will outline the specific conditions and hypotheses. We implemented a 4x3 factorial design. Factor 1 varies intervention probability from 0 to 25%, to 50%, or to 75%, and each probability has an effect in humans in expected behavior. In experiment with humans. Factor 2 varies reasoning effort, low, medium, and X-high. And we set that in the ChatGPT. The runs per cell are 500. The system role was set in ChatGPT as an undergraduate student. Utilizes robust statistical tests. Let's review the actual experimental data that we have, and we look at descriptive and inferential statistics in our results. This table breaks down allocations across all 12 cells of our 4x3 experiment. Look closely at the automated mean transfer distributions. This chart visually summarizes those mean transfers across our experimental groups. What is the pattern? The flat lines in the graphs show that as intervention probability increases, GPT 5.5 allocations remains practically unchanged. This lack of downward slope clearly contrasts with typical human strategic decline. Medium reasoning consistently generated the lowest overall transfers. Low reasoning consistently showed higher transfer rates. In our inferential analysis, normality was strictly rejected across all experimental groups. A robust factorial ANOVA that we perform reveals reasoning effort as the dominant effect in this ANOVA. Reasoning effort accounts for 38 of total variance. There is a significant interaction effect of probability depends on reasoning level. This strongly contradicts typical human strategic behavior patterns. We will now conclude our research presentation. Let's discuss final implications and future directions of these studies. First, GPT 5.5 did not exploit moral wiggle room as humans do. That is our first conclusion. Higher intervention probability did not reduce transfers. Safety alignment potentially overrides strategic human-like selfishness. Second, internal reasoning configuration dominates over experimental framing. Medium reasoning produced lower transfers than low or X-high reasoning. Model configuration matters more than framing for AI behavior. The significant interaction reveals that GPT 5.5 responds differently to uncertainty depending on its reasoning configuration. This is a novel finding. For future work, we plan to test newer models, Gemini and others, and we will also vary target system roles next. Many other roles, different to students, etc. Here is the bibliography supporting our behavioral framework. It includes classic economic game and LLM literature. Thank you very much for your time.